Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. That was a fantastic panel session that spoke about RPA and bots transforming the banks. Where are we? To go ahead, we now have a corporate presentation that would speak about intelligent automation for your back office banking processes. And to deliver this presentation, we here have with us Mr. Vikas Anand, VP Sales and Marketing from Botminds. Over to you, Mr. Vikas.
Thank you very much. You can bring my screen up. All right. I think it's kind of tough to follow after an amazing panel discussion that we just had with Mr. Botminds, Mr. Atul Kumar, and other panel members. It was absolutely fantastic to hear all the thoughts, and you kind of set up the stage very, very nicely for me to, position what we do at Botminds. And also, it was very nice to see some familiar faces on the panel. Dr. Anish gave a very fantastic explanation of what it actually means to be a true IPA provider. I think that's kind of important. Mr. Harish, you spoke about the hyperautomation definition by Gartner. I think that's, within the RPA space, definitions are being made, every quarter and thrown around with not much substance sometimes and are used very, very loosely sometimes. I think Divya spoke about the fact that there's a lot of work that needs to be still done, from where the technology is and how it actually gets to the, individual's hands towards the end. And Mr. Harish, Mr. Abhijit also had, interesting points there. And Mr. Babu, you closed the conversation. I think this is a very key point. I want to start from there on, all this terminology is fine, AI is fine, but there's a lot of work that goes behind it, which almost is kind of, sometimes hidden, sometimes kind of, not fully articulated to a certain extent. Well, so I'm Vikas. I head the sales and marketing, and what I would be doing is covering these 4 points that you see on the screen, which is intelligent automation for back office banking processes. And I want to take a moment and say, what is it that we do in terms of intelligent automation? What is it that we believe at Botminds is the right way of looking at it? And why should you be looking at a horizontal platform? How can you get a head start? And basically how you started with Botminds. So if I move on, I think the key important thing is that automation is here to stay. There is absolutely no questioning the need, the importance of automation. It is there. It is in multiple shapes and forms. I heard a fantastic example from RBL where the automation was not picking up or the chatbots were not picking up, but the moment pandemic hit, I think pandemic has been one of the biggest digital transformation activators for every organization. But the challenge with automation at the moment is there are only few technologies that people understand. People understand RPA, but RPA is also kind of misunderstood. And then you got AI, which in my view is kind of eating RPA's lunch to a certain extent. But if you take a step back and look at the way and the options which are there, a lot of organizations believe RPA definitely is the foundation, which is true. And at the same time, you have overarching technologies that get layered on top of that. But the challenge that comes out there with just working solely on an RPA really is that RPA can't handle unstructured documents in its true form. Of course, RPA players, RPAs are growing up and expanding, in terms of their capabilities, and AI is coming in more and more. But it is still a couple of things that need to work together for any automation to look at unstructured documents. And then every bank would have multiple documents. These documents could be of a very large size. We're not talking about just simple invoice. We're talking about contracts. We're talking about annual reports, which are a couple of hundred pages, which have multiple documents attached to each other. Context is very important. And sometimes you would have multiple people's, multiple teams working on a single document to be able to extract the information, right? And sometimes when that happens, there's a lot of errors that essentially show up. Yeah, so that's usually the challenge. But when you look at automation per se, I've kind of put this together to see there are simple automation, complex automation, and unstructured data on the basis of complexity and value. Erstwhile, we had simple automation where simple scripts and macros could be sorted out. Then we had RPA, which would go ahead and take that activity. RPA became IPA with its extent to the variety of different technologies it could speak with or different formats it could handle. But unstructured data is a very different, animal altogether. It needs a very different approach. And, we believe that it does need an AI-first approach. And that is where we come into play. So we are not an RPA player with an AI around it. We are basically an AI-first platform. And we have our RPA or IPA layer that is sitting around it, which essentially means that we will do all of the work that is related to the document processing as our AI core. And then if required, we will go ahead and hand it off to RPA or go ahead and do the end-to-end process as an RPA code. And the way I've kind of structured this 15 minutes really is to continue to give examples of what is it that Botminds platform can do. So when you look at this example here, you see on the left-hand side is our platform. It's a SaaS-based platform. This is a very complicated thing for any automation tool to solve, leave alone just OCR or OCR plus other automation. Because OCR only would extract the values, but what we're looking at is a human-grade understanding of how to read a table, where the columns are, which is the correct year, where the value is. The example here on the current asset really is that the value right next to it is not the right value. It is the summation or a grand total of that information, right? That's the key piece there. So being able to understand variety of these templates format without having to train for each and every one of these templates formats is what is key when it comes down to Botminds platform. So when you look at why a horizontal platform, so the introduction really of Botminds is that we are a unified platform for IDP and IPA, which essentially is our core is document understanding. What we do is all about documents, and around that we have also built in our process automation capability. So our focus on the automation really is to bring in the intelligence which currently sits with the SME. So speed is given. Speed comes from RPA there, but a lot of times when it comes on, actually most of the time when it comes down to unstructured data, there is an SME team which is sitting. But what if you have to do that for 10,000 documents of 5,000 different vendors? That's completely unscalable to a large extent. So that's the challenge that I see, which is there when it comes down to out-of-the-box third-party solutions, which is the solutions are partial. They don't really handle unstructured very well. There is time challenge. There's integration challenge. And being able to find the right solution could be a challenge as well. And the third piece that comes in here really is the fact that you may go ahead and pick up a very specific custom solution to handle one scenario, but the other department, when it needs similar kind of technology, you have to go and find yet another solution equally capable that matches and extends the capability of what you have as the underlying solution, has the ability to integrate, and the drill. So you have to do a lot of that for multiple platforms. So we believe the right way to look at that would be to look at a horizontal platform like Botminds. We understand all types of documents, scanned images, PDF files, web pages. We understand all types of these documents. We understand them to begin with. We don't need any training. All that we need to understand is whether you are doing it as an accounts payable, or you're using it for KYC, or you're using it for risk assessment, and you go ahead and put a training using point and click within a couple of weeks, and you got the output, right? So that's essentially the power of a horizontal platform. Now, what goes behind the scenes when it comes down to a platform essentially is that we're looking at 4 steps here. You upload the documents. The upload could happen, pick up the information from the cloud, pick it up from the SEBI website, or pick it up from my email. Doesn't really matter. That's the ingestion. The understanding is where our multiple AI models are in place. So we go ahead and do that understanding. So we already understand what a page is. We can differentiate one type of document from the other. We can differentiate one type of NDA from the other, and so on and so forth. Third portion is the training, which is what you would provide, which takes about just a couple of days. Provide a couple of examples, and that couple I mean 100 or so, which may sound large if you are not aware of what you have to give to an AI. To an AI, you basically would be giving 100,000 examples to 1 million data points for it to learn properly and start doing the prediction. So we've done that heavy work. We just need 100 examples. So after that training, all you do is just the extraction, and the extraction can happen in any shape and form that you may be looking at. So what is the approach? So we've got AI first, no code automation, ready-made modular blocks, and we can provide this efficiency to you absolutely within just a couple of weeks. I have a couple of examples here to show you. So this is an annual report, fairly complicated, and it's not just tables. It's a 200-page document. We are able to extract information from anywhere in the document. We specify, and could be written as part of one of the sentence or one of the words or one of the paragraphs. We can extract that information. We're not looking for keywords. We are doing natural language processing using the machine learning and our AI models to be able to understand that. So it's all good. But what happens when you've gotten this thing that is done, which is near real time? What can you do with that? Well, you can essentially take it out in any specific format that you want. And literally the information that you see here, once you extract it either manually or through a workflow, it basically comes out to you like this. So all the information that was there in that 200-page document, you only needed some bit of information, and you basically have that information available to you in a completely structured format. This is an example. We can, of course, put it wherever that may be required towards the end. And this is something that we've kind of done with a leading global provider where they were managing about 50,000 annual reports every quarter. We've kind of been able to build a solution for them that delivered 80% accuracy within 2 weeks, and the accuracy continues to improve. We got them to reduce the overall effort from 6 to 8 hours down to 2 hours, including human in the loop, including the post-processing. So imagine the amount of hours that are given back to business, once you have this kind of automation that is handed over to your teams. I have a few more examples, but I think on the interest of time, I'm going to skip this one here. And this is an example really on a conversation of a transcript. Maybe I can show that to you, a little later. So how do you actually go ahead and get a head start? We have ready solutions which are available. So we've got solutions on legal compliance. We got finance and accounts. We got claim processing solutions. These are kind of available, and we are taking it one step forward by essentially bringing a marketplace to you. So we will have a Botminds marketplace launching pretty soon, which simply means that you would be able to go get an AI model that is already working for a specific scenario, just the way you do it on a bot store currently with RPA. You would be able to now download an AI model that essentially works, and you get a head start. You can simply extend and adapt the capability. As of now, it is what you download, it is fixed. It currently works. That's usually what most of the configurations which are offered. But what we will do is essentially go ahead and give you all the solutions that you can customize, that you can change and adapt to your requirements. So my last leg in what is it that we do, how can we work, and what is it that we engage with? How do we do that? So we are a SaaS-based platform. Like I mentioned, we understand all types of documents. Training is very simple. It's just a point-and-click training. We only need 100 examples, and we are able to build, an AI-based, model and an output and a prediction and recommendation within just about 2 weeks' time, right? And we can do a very shorter demo, within a week's time itself. That's something that we are able to deliver. So 4-step process or 4-step engagement, essentially, I should say. Number one, you see the Botminds platform. We have a conversation, and you say, this is where I find it interesting or challenging. And basically, the key aspect really here is that if it is to do with documents, we can handle that. And then we identify the use cases, build a concept POC for you. We can have that ready in 4 to 5 days. And then you have a pilot, which essentially is AI trained. And over the end, you just hand it over to business. And the side effects of doing that is you would basically be able to get that kind of a return. So you will have about 90% operational efficiency, a huge improvement in the overall capacity, and a decent cost saving as well. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to see some of you, most of you, all of you, if you can just get some more information, you can come and visit botminds.ai/banking, and I have more information there in terms of our use cases and the business benefits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vikas, for the presentation. It was indeed a wonderful one. I'm sure I'll be looking forward to have Botminds once again as featured into our future editions of a banking summit. Thank you so much for your time and your presentation. Take care.